Good evening, I'm meteorologist Robb Ellis here in the WTHR Weather Impact Alert Studio. We're looking at two new severe thunderstorm warnings that have been issued, so I want to have you track those along with me. I'll try to show you some cameras here that we're looking at as far as some of the traffic cameras, and just let you know where the storm is the strongest, because this has moved through Hamilton County. It's this severe storm right here. There's one severe thunderstorm warning over Hamilton County. Now the National Weather Service has actually extended that into parts of Marion County, including a significant portion of Indianapolis. First thing I'm going to do while this is in the looping radar mode, I'm going to show you the radar, get in a little bit closer. Also going to point out a couple of things on this slightly wider view. There is what we call an outflow boundary here. It's the cooler air that's being pushed out from this thunderstorm. This thunderstorm is producing some gusty winds and probably a little bit of hail showing up there, maybe right over Westfield, honestly. In fact, the concern earlier was that this moved right over the club at Chatham Hills golf course, right where the Live tournament has been happening. Thankfully, things have kind of ended for the day, but there may be some temporary structures there that we're concerned about, but also concerned this is going to continue moving to the south and east. This is going to impact the northeast side of Indy. This is going to impact Fishers. That outflow boundary as it moves through, you'll feel that cooler air as it moves on by. But unfortunately, a lot of times when these outflow boundaries move into an air mass that's relatively warm and humid, remember, Indy did not cool down from the earlier rainstorms like they did a little farther to the east. They can occasionally at least sustain this thunderstorm development as it continues to the south and east, but may actually help to increase the thunderstorm activity. A couple of things I'm going to do, and again, I'm analyzing this kind of live on the fly, so you have to bear with me as I use some of the tools in our toolbox here to analyze some of these storms. First of all, right north, right really over Westfield, there is some really heavy rain and possibly even some hail coming down right now. I'll check in just a moment, see if we see that. This area of pink, typically we either get really heavy rain, or more than likely, just given what I've seen through the course of the day today, what we're seeing here is a little bit of small hail. So we're watching that. This is really right over Westfield, 31 right at, this is going to be Westfield Road, and then farther to the south and east, because that's where this is headed. Very quickly, while I'm zoomed in this close, I want to switch over to our velocity that we often use when we're looking at strong winds or we're looking at tornado. We're not talking about tornadoes with this. We are talking about some gusty winds and some strong, some large hail. But what I'm looking for is the brighter colors of green that we see sometimes. And really, that's where we were expecting some gusty winds. Now, what's happening here is the strong storm is producing a lot of heavy rain, almost like a downburst signature. And what happens is, as the rain comes down very heavily, it spreads out in all directions. And as it does so, it produces some really gusty winds. That's why I talked about that outflow boundary that we saw a little bit earlier. So where those winds are pushing towards the radar, which by the way is located right here by the airport, you really can see the strong signature of some strong gusty winds. Unfortunately, that's what's rolling right over Carmel at the moment. So this is right where 31 and Keystone are going to come back together. I'll even zoom in a little bit closer. You can see this brightish green color here, and I'll maybe try to do a little bit of querying here in just a moment so we can see exactly how strong the winds are, at least estimated by radar. Just keep in mind, there is a severe thunderstorm warning that's in place for Hamilton County. That's going to go until 10:30. That's how long that one's going to be in place. But a little farther to the south, let me actually zoom out just a bit to show you the other severe thunderstorm warning that includes the northeast side of Indy. This one is going to go until 10:30. It's got a little bit more travel time, so it's going to take it a little bit longer to move through. As far as the gusty winds are concerned, right now they're sitting right over Carmel, but maybe continuing to push through. And also there may be some gusty winds on the farther east side of this too. We just can't see them because of the orientation of where the radar is located. Let me move that off the screen again. Let me go back to the regular radar view just so we can see some of the heavy rain and possibly some of the hail that's falling right now. Just want to check to see if the hail is actually showing up on our hail predictor here. I'll zoom out a little bit. Yeah, there is a little bit of hail that's showing up. In fact, pretty strong signature here that we're seeing some hail right over Westfield. Again, this is where I was concerned about the Live Golf tournament that was ongoing earlier in the day today. Of course, things have shut down for the day, but we don't want any damage to the ongoing concerns we have there. This is going to continue pushing south and east. So if you are in Fishers for sure, Geist Reservoir, all the way over to Greenfield, which got hit earlier in the day today with a very strong thunderstorm. Some very heavy rain. In fact, there's a storm report earlier of a tree that was snapped about 5 feet off the ground. So just keep in mind, already there have been some stronger storms that have rolled through earlier in the day today that have caused some damage. We don't see any I was trying to see if there's any storm reports from this storm as it moved through. This pink that you're looking at here is where the radar is estimating possible hail, not into that probable category just yet, although you do see it's creeping up into this darker frame here where hail is probably coming down. And a lot of that has to do with how intense the radar signature is. Let me put the radar back on so that you can see it, and I'll remove some of these other things so it cleans up the radar just a bit for you. This area of the pinkish purple that we were talking about that was right over Westfield just a little bit earlier. Let me zoom back in just a little bit. Looks like it's weakened just a bit with the latest scan, but it's still probably some hail that's coming down right now. South and east of Westfield over to Carmel. I'll get in a little bit closer here so you can see some of the areas that we're talking about where we may see a hail core that's been developing or that's falling out of this thunderstorm. We're talking about Gray Road, Cary Road. Here's Meridian Street that we're looking at here. That's 31 essentially as it splits with Keystone. We all know the area that we're talking about here. And then eventually farther to the south. So this would be Allisonville Road right here. The storm is approaching. And remember, the radar has a span here that it has to complete, a volume that it has to complete. So we'll see the next radar update. And it's probably going to bring it through to the northeast side of Indy and continue pushing to the south and east. So if you're in any of these areas, say from Lawrence, maybe over to Mount Comfort, I think as this outflow boundary, and that's what this kind of brighter green shade is right here, begins to push through, you'll first notice the winds pick up. It'll get a little bit cooler and you'll think, oh, that's great. But off to the distance here, you're probably going to see some pretty intense lightning. In fact, let me just step off camera real quick. If we're able to, I'm going to speak to my director just for a moment. If you're able to pop up, I think it's traffic 1 right now, if you're able to pop that up for us. Yeah, so this is US 31 right at 151st Street. And first thing you notice is camera's a little bit shaky, heavy rain is going on, but we're also seeing frequent lightning. Look how much lightning that we're seeing with this. And when we get back over to the radar in just a moment, I'll put the lightning on just so that you can see how much we're talking about. But prolific lightning makers, we've seen that all throughout the day today. We continue to see that. And there are also additional showers and storms that I've been tracking. But let's go to the other traffic cameras, just take a little bit of a different look here. We are looking at I-69, this is at 116th Street. So heavy rain coming down, visibility is going to be a concern. Traffic is certainly going to slow down, of course. We are on the weekend, and traffic is going to be a little bit lighter than we would expect during the week at this time. But still going to be a concern for those that are going to be out and about. All right, let's go back to the radar and talk about what we're seeing here. Okay, so a couple of things here just to notice. And if you're not used to what I've got the sensitivity of the radar kind of turned way up here, it's why there's so much blue on the radar. And the reason I've turned the sensitivity up is because I want to see features like this. I want to see this outflow boundary that's being created by the storms. It's going to continue to push through because we'll probably continue to see development in those areas. A couple of severe thunderstorm warnings, one right now that's over Hamilton County. That's where the strongest of the storms are, mainly because of gusty winds and the possibility of some large hail. That's continuing to move to the south and east. An additional severe thunderstorm warning that includes parts of Marion County, the northeast, I'd say quarter of Indianapolis, all the way over to Greenfield as well, because that storm is going to continue moving to the south and east. I'll put this in motion just so that you can see let's say the last 15 minutes or so of radar, and you'll see, by the way, I've also turned the lightning on. Look at all of the lightning strikes that continue with this as it drifts to the south and east. Now, the orange boxes are the severe thunderstorm warnings. Additionally, you see a couple of other lighter colored boxes, these almost cream colored boxes. These are special weather statements. Now, the National Weather Service issues these for severe thunderstorms when they don't quite meet severe thunderstorm criteria. Severe thunderstorm criteria is either hail of 1 inch in diameter or larger, or wind gusts that are 58 miles per hour or stronger. If you don't have those criteria, the National Weather Service puts out these special weather statements that encompass a couple of different cells here. And those two are continuing to push to the south and east. Notice how they also have their own outflow boundary. One here that's moving right across the city. If you're anywhere in Indy right now, you can probably feel the air get a little bit cooler over the next 15 minutes or so as that outflow boundary moves through. Same thing here, a little outflow boundary behind this. This is where the cooler air is rushing out from those thunderstorms. It can almost act like a little miniature cold front and help to increase the thunderstorm activity out ahead of that, or at least maintain the thunderstorm as it moves through. I just want to see one moment here. I'm able to pull up the traffic cams myself, but I'm not sure which one will pull up on my system. Let's see what it defaults to. Yeah, let's go to that one. I'll pull that up. That way my director, I don't have to make him work so hard. I can pull it up there. This is the one I've been kind of seeing out of the corner of my eye here in the studio. There's a prolific amount of lightning that's been falling with this. You are looking at US 31. This is at 151st Street, so this is up near Westfield. A lot of heavy rain still coming down. And I think at this location, we've probably seen the worst of the storm move on by. I don't think that we have as much gusty wind in this area as maybe what they are seeing a little farther to the south and east. So now that we've taken a look at some of the cameras here, let me see if I can go back. I want to go back to the radar here. I'll put that back into motion here in just 1 second, and we'll talk about where the storm is headed now. We'll take that NDOT camera away, go back to the radar. So here's what we're now tracking, and I want to get in a little bit closer with this because there are a lot of areas, especially close to Geist Reservoir, now Fishers, seeing some very heavy rain moving in. And I talked a little bit about that hail core. You can see it right there. It looks like it's drifted farther to the south and east. I want to see if I can turn off the lightning with this. Let me just turn that off just for a moment, just so you can see it. The purple that we were looking at right there. Right over Westfield, there was a significant amount of hail showing up, at least according to the radar. And I'll move that just a bit so you can see it. Notice the bright purples almost going into that deeper purple. The radar really picking up likely some heavy rain, but when hail shows up on the radar, it actually thinks it's really, really heavy rain. The reflectivity, which is what you're looking at here, is extremely high. Starts to weaken just a little bit as it continues south and east, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's still some ongoing hail as this drifts to the south and east. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit, so if you're watching us here, you can see that we're just tracking these severe thunderstorms as they move through. One severe thunderstorm and another couple of stronger thunderstorms that we're watching as well, but I also want to just step away, see if the National Weather Service had any new information. Looks like a weather station in Westfield did measure almost 60 miles per hour with the storm. Radar velocities have definitely come down within the last 5 minutes or so. But what National Weather Service is mentioning, that it's becoming difficult to sample the winds. And what they mean by that is something I alluded to a little bit earlier. So, you know, when we look at the winds with this, a lot of times what we're looking at, and because it's Doppler radar, the radar is located right there. So if the winds are directly towards the radar, we get a really good look at it. But if the winds are perpendicular to the radar, as this storm is about to be, it's moving in this direction, and the radar beam is coming in this direction, we really don't get the best look at the strongest winds with the storm. So we may be flying just a little bit blind, but they can also do things like look at some of the reporting sites, different radar signatures that we can kind of track with this, and just the history of the storm, also ground truth. Have we had any reports of that? Looking at some of the traffic cameras as well. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back to that other traffic camera, and I'm going to step off and maybe change some of the traffic cameras here in just a moment. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that away. We've been looking at this for just a bit. I want to maybe get downstream of this just a moment. So bear with me as you may see the screen go to black here, but don't worry about that. It will come back up. It's because I am manually changing the traffic cameras. Normally we don't do this live on the air for good reason, because we don't want to show black screens on the air, but I do just want to show you a couple of traffic cameras here just to see how things look. Let's see if I can get this one to pop up one moment. You're going to see a couple of different traffic cams pop up. You can definitely see the wind blowing in this traffic camera. This is I-69 at 106th Street, so we're definitely a little farther to the south, where earlier we were much farther closer to, say, Westfield with one of the traffic cameras. I'm going to go a little further down I-69. We'll go down to 82nd Street, so this is maybe closer to the Castleton area. Look at all of the traffic with their emergency flashers on for good reason. Look at how strong the wind is blowing across the interstate here. Again, you're looking at a live traffic camera right near the Castleton area of a strong thunderstorm, a severe thunderstorm that's moving through the northeast side of Indy. And you can see so much traffic there has their emergency flashers on, likely because of the blinding rain, also because of the gusty wind. Right now, they just it's not great travel conditions. You can even see a couple of vehicles that have pulled over off to the side of the road. Let me see if I can explore a couple of these other traffic cameras just to see what else we're able to see. We'll go closer to 465. Look at the traffic camera shake there, and the frequent lightning. Continuing to see a lot of lightning with these storms. They continue to kind of pulse up, but because there's so much heat and humidity in the atmosphere, these are at least able to sustain themselves. And the biggest concern has been the gusty winds with this. I'm going to go right at 465. This is 465 right at I-69 or Benford Boulevard, or it switches over to Benford Boulevard. This is also where they're doing a lot of construction, so you can see the construction equipment there. Look at the rain sideways, which is what we're looking at here from all those extra lanes that they're adding there, at least trying to widen it. I believe we are looking southeast on this particular camera. So you really get a good idea of the storm that's approaching. Let me go one further traffic camera down just to see how things are progressing ahead of the storm, because the leading edge is going to be where we'll see probably some of the strongest winds. I may have gotten ahead of it at this particular camera, but let me actually see if I can go maybe the other direction, maybe right at Allisonville Road. We were looking at that a little bit earlier on the radar. Yeah, and you can see, you know, the winds are gusty. We have now confirmation of the severe thunderstorm aspect of this, meaning 58 miles per hour wind or stronger. We had the 59 mile per hour wind gusts at a weather station. Let me go back to our, take our camera off and go back to the radar just so we can kind of see how things have evolved over the last maybe 5 or 6 minutes or so since we've been looking at some of those traffic cameras. Getting in very close here, because I do want to show you where the strongest of that hail core may be popping back up just a bit here, right to the west of Fishers. And I want to get in real close and see if we can maybe pinpoint some street locations and get you out ahead of this as well. So Northwood Hills, Northern Beach, that's what's showing up on the map. That's going to be the White River right there that you see. So those right along the White River. But then ahead of that, so let's get you down to, say, 91st Street. This is going to be between really 91st Street, 96th Street, maybe up to 106th Street. Down to Castleton. I showed you a couple of the cameras right around Castleton. In fact, I took you, the couple of cameras that I showed you was one here. I think I showed you one here. There was one right at the interchange with 465. We went down to maybe 71st Street. I think that's the camera I showed you earlier. And then back to Allisonville Road. That camera that's on Allisonville Road. Thank you so much, Mr. Director, for putting that in front of me. That's what you're looking at right there. You are looking at that camera sitting right there, right over that extra little area that's shown up. I'm actually going to leave that up for me. Leave that up. That's perfect, because then what I can do is I can go over here while we're zoomed in really close on that radar, and I want to take you back to where we saw the strongest of the winds that were probably pushing through about this area. This is going to be back at 82nd Street. Oh yeah, look at the traffic that's still got their flashers on. A lot more people pulling off on the side here. Lightning's ongoing. Continue to see a lot of lightning with that. But look as the headlights go through to the pavement there, you really see this gusty wind that's pushing through. And that camera, by the way, let me see if I can zoom in even closer on where that is. That camera is right at 82nd Street. So you're looking at the camera right about here. It's where the storm is just now moving through. The winds are likely pushing in from the north and west. So I'm just going to take a step off and see exactly which direction. We are looking north from that. I just had to see, usually the camera in the bottom corner will have a little indicator telling me which direction it's looking. So we are looking north. So we are literally looking right into the storm. And that's the vantage point that you see. Still a lot of emergency flashers here. Keep that camera up for me, just because I like it's so visual, seeing exactly as the storm rolls through. Keep in mind, what you're seeing there is this part of the storm right about here. That's the leading edge of this. I also mentioned that outflow boundary. It's pushed farther to the south. That's that leading edge of that cooler air. But the strongest of the winds are as the storm is really raining itself out and pushing all of that cooler air to the surface and then spreading out. So this is where we're likely seeing some of the strongest winds. That's going to continue pushing south and east, and it is moving through McCordsville right now. It's almost on your doorstep if you're in Lawrence right now. Mount Comfort, it's going to be not too far behind you, and then Greenfield after that, which are all in the severe thunderstorm warning that's going to go until 10:30. And just keep in mind, we do have a newscast coming up at 11 o'clock where I'll be bringing you the latest, including a forecast of what you can expect, as well as a look at Category 5 Hurricane Erin that's out into the Atlantic. So a lot going on weather-wise. We've had the heat and humidity in place today. It was 92 officially at the airport. So these are certainly feeding off of some very warm and humid air. What I think is going to be happening later this evening, over the next couple of hours or so, is that these outflow boundaries that we're looking at, these outflow boundaries are going to continue pushing to the south. That sounds like it may be a good thing because it's going to help to cool you down, but it may actually help to trigger a few more storms. In fact, look right there. I mentioned this earlier. I said sometimes these outflow boundaries can help to trigger new storms. That's exactly what we're seeing right now, right over Crawfordsville. Now, the good news is These are just pop-up storms. It is a little bit cooler now that we've lost the heating of the day. Some of this air was worked over earlier in the day. There was a little leftover cold pool from one of the storms that was moving along the Illinois Indiana line. By the way, a couple of new special weather statements that the National Weather Service has put out for Boone County. That one's going to go until 10:30. That's just for the storm that's rolling now out of from where it was moving through Frankfort and now moving into Boone County, Clinton County, now moving into Boone County. A couple of other storms here, one from Anderson to Muncie. I haven't forgotten about you over there. You've got that very heavy rain moving through, probably some gusty winds as well. They've now dropped that special weather statement. They've put another one up for this little cell that's right here moving out of Hartford City, approaching, it's going to be probably making its way to Winchester. Some of this area over here was actually cooled down quite a bit earlier in the day by that strong storm that rolled through Greenfield. It cooled down all the way from, to Rushville, all the way down to maybe Connorsville. You probably got in on a little bit of that cooler air. That may help to stabilize some of these storms as they get a little bit closer, but I still think if you're on the northeast side of Indy from Lawrence over to Greenfield, you've got the severe thunderstorm warning in place, and we're starting to see that conditions are starting to verify that. Let me get in a little bit closer. Geist Reservoir certainly has heavy rain ongoing, but I still think the strongest part of the storm is where the heaviest rain is falling now, right over Interstate 69 at 465. Probably some gusty winds, maybe some small hail. I haven't seen any hail reports that have popped up with this just yet. Actually, there is a wind gust that just came up on the board here. Let's see if I can get that one to query for me. That was the, I believe that was the 59 mile per hour wind gust that we saw reported by the Weather Service. Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Director. He was letting me know that the NDOT cameras are no longer functioning. So they may have actually, what may have happened sometimes is they may have lost power. Sometimes when they lose power, I think, let me try switching one just to see if they come back. I'm gonna leave you with that radar. Just bear with me while I just move to a different NDOT camera and see if our NDOT cameras are able to come back. We'll see if that pops back up for us. Maybe not. Sometimes when those gusty winds come through and they take a little bit of a power hit, either because of the gusty winds or because of the power flashes, which it looks like one did just come back. So that's okay, that's good. I'll swap the other one here in just a moment. We are watching really intense, let me put the lightning back on actually, just to see how much lightning is continuing with this. One of the things I like to look at when I'm looking at some of the lightning that shows up is how much of this lightning is continuing and how much is building or is it diminishing. In other words, are we looking at, sorry, I was just past something. Thank you, Jenny, for passing me that. State Fair is closing an hour early because of the weather threat. So if you know someone that's at the fair, maybe you're supposed to pick someone up, just keep that in mind. The State Fair is closing an hour early. Jenny, do you know the normal closing time? 11. Thank you very much. They're closing now, yes. Okay, thank you for that. So again, just wanted to pass that along. Again, probably not going to be directly impacted, but there's enough lightning in the area that it's probably a safe bet. I'll get in real close so that you can see. Also, they may have had some gusty winds move through just with that outflow boundary, and look how close this is going to be. I mean, I'll get in close to where the State Fair is. We're looking at maybe 30th to 38th Street right there, I think is where I am on the map. Let me pull the map over just a little bit. So we are looking at right about in this area. And that gust front has just moved through, so that outflow boundary, you can see it on the radar right there. And the reason I'm looking for that is because it's where the cooler air has moved through. Every now and then there's some gusty winds with it, but it's also kind of the leading edge of where the storm is developing. And there's a good bit of lightning around. So probably a good idea if you know someone that's out at the State Fair. Just keep in mind the State Fair is closing an hour early. There's one of those traffic cameras as well. In fact, leave that up for me for just a moment, Colin. I'm going to switch that other camera while we leave that one in place. Going to swap over. You're looking currently at 465 at Fall Creek. Let me switch the other one over to something. We lost the earlier image that we were seeing from that north or northeast side. I'm going to see if I can get us to something maybe a little bit farther on the east side, maybe closer to Lawrence, and we'll see if we're able to pull up another camera here. Not seeing as much that Pendleton Pike camera. I don't know if they're able to switch to that one, Colin. That one is showing a little bit more gusty winds, and I tried to do that just because That one's a little bit further on the eastern side of that storm, and that storm may be producing some gusty winds on that portion of it as opposed to where we saw that other camera. So you're looking at 465 right at Pendleton Pike. Traffic's moving pretty good. Doesn't seem like the rain has started there just yet. The road may be a little bit wet at this point. Severe thunderstorm warning is going to continue, by the way, until 10:30. This is going to include Marion County. This is also going to include Hancock County, and that's going to go until 10:30 because of gusty winds. You're also going to see a lot of lightning. That's not why the severe thunderstorm was issued, but there is a good bit of lightning with this and maybe some small hail. Haven't been able to confirm any of the hail with this just yet, but it has been showing up on radar. While we have the radar up, let's go ahead to that and see if we can pull up anything on the radar that is showing us hail. It was pretty pronounced when it was right over Westfield, but I think maybe the signature has dissipated just a little bit. I'll zoom in. There's probably a little bit too much going on radar, so let's take the lightning off. And we'll see if we can see any hail that's showing up. I know these boxes are going to keep going. It's the special weather statements that the National Weather Service keeps issuing. In fact, that might be just a little bit too much. So we'll go ahead and take those off. I just really want to see the hail that's been showing up on the radar. There we go. So yeah, this is the track of that storm, basically. You can see as it developed here, we had that gusty wind that was 59 miles per hour. That's what that little icon is denoting. There was a very strong signature of some hail likely happening really right over Westfield. And then this continued to push to the south and east. Now, we were looking at some of those traffic cameras as this was approaching Interstate 69 right at 465, 82nd Street. This is the Castleton area as well. We saw some of the cameras there that were shaking quite a bit. Very heavy rain coming down, probably some small hail with this, definitely not as large a signature or strong a signature as what we saw over Westfield. Once you get into those darker colors, let me just take that off just a moment just to see if it'll let me remove that. There we go. The reason I wanted to show you that is because once you get into this darker area, hail becomes much more probable or more likely at that point. When it shows up on radar in kind of the pinker shades, we think that hail is there, but really it's when you get a really strong signature like we were right over Westfield, and that was where I was concerned because the Live Golf Tournament was happening right about there, right where that 59 mile per hour wind gust was happening. Now this is continuing to move to the south and east. In fact, let me turn this back to now so that you can just see what's happening right now. Likely some small hail that's happening near Fishers. And if you're in the Geist Reservoir area, keep in mind the radar has to scan a full, what we call a full volume of this, so this may be lagging just a little bit. The radar itself has a pretty fast refresh rate, but in order to check for hail, it has to check the whole volume, or at least enough of the scan that it can kind of determine whether hail is there or not. So we may actually have some stronger winds and some hail happening ahead of that, where I was showing you just a moment ago. But the radar is not necessarily able to determine that exactly. Let me do this. Let me take this off again and let's just do a little radar tour. We'll get in real close. A couple of things I'm noticing. One, this has started to ease its way into parts of Indy. So you're looking at 71st. This is going to be Benford right here. So this is Benford. On where it says Millersville, we'll get in a little bit closer. That's about the southern extent so far. So looking at Kessler right here and Benford down to 46th Street. That's about the southern extent we've seen of the rain, at least in Indy, the heaviest rain. What has me a little more concerned is not only is there little pockets of heavier rain, but there's probably a little bit of small hail that's happening right now between 82nd Street, maybe down to 71st Street, and probably up to 86th Street as well. Once this changes over to Interstate 69, we saw the traffic cameras there earlier, which we lost either because of the gusty winds or because of the ongoing lightning flashes in the area. That little pocket of either heavier rain or hail is going to continue pushing to the south and east. So this is going to put it really right over Geist at this point. We're going to see this moving closer to 56th Street, over the Lawrence, where you have some heavy rain coming down, but probably not the strongest of the storm at the moment, and then eventually to Mount Comfort, which we just saw pop up on the map. I'll zoom in just a little bit so you can see if you're in that area, so you'll know exactly what we're talking about. This is the leading edge of the severe thunderstorm. A couple of you may be asking, and I'm going to check the Facebook comments here in just a moment. Okay, so what are you guys doing with the streaming? What's happening with these storms? Well, first of all, let me go back to the warnings just to show you where we are actually seeing warnings right now. There's one severe thunderstorm warning. Actually, looks like they've issued a new one here, so let me bring that one up. That one's going to be for Hendricks and as well for Hancock. The Hendricks one is a new one. Let me pop that one up so we can get that one. includes Marion as well, until 11 p.m. So what's going to happen is this is going to take us all the way up to our newscast. In order for us to set up for our newscast, we're going to have to hop off the stream. I'll see if my streaming producer, Chris, if you're listening, I'll see if he can swap that over to the regular radar while we prep for our 11 o'clock newscast. We won't do that for a while. I'll try not to do that for another 15, 20 minutes or so, but just giving the folks that are watching a little bit of a heads up, and also talking to Chris at the desk here. So he knows that I know this is going to go until 11. We can't stream all the way until 11 with me on air. We can stream the radar though, so we'll likely have to switch over to that at some point. Both of these storms are producing some gusty winds, and this one has got the new warning on it. Because it's got a new warning on it, I do want to go back and look at the winds. Now, the good thing about this storm that's going to be slightly different from the last storm is if I switch over to the velocities, there's a much brighter signature here because this is coming towards the radar. The radar is located right there. This one has a much stronger signature pushing right directly towards the radar. You get a great view of it. This one, not so much. I know it looks like this is the stronger storm, but it's all about the orientation of the radar at this point. It's kind of something when the storm is going directly perpendicular to the radar, it can sometimes give you a false sense of how strong or weak that storm is. This severe thunderstorm warning is going to go until 10:30. This includes Marion, but it also includes Hancock County. This one is going to include the northwest portions of Marion County as well as Boone County, and that one's going to go until 11 p.m. Let me remove that. Let me clean this back up just a little bit for you. I just want to switch over to velocity, see if there's anything new that I'm seeing. And also what I'm going to do, Colin, if you get a moment, pop up one of the traffic cameras, whichever one looks the best at the moment, and then I'll switch that one to maybe one of these areas over near Lebanon or maybe Whitestown especially, because what I want to do is what I did before with that previous one. I want to talk about the storm that's coming through. You're looking at 465 at Fall Creek. This is, let's call it Storm A, the first one that we've been tracking. But I'm also going to swap over to something a little closer to Whitestown, just to get a better idea of what's going to be moving into that area. So let me take you up closer to Whitestown first of all, just to see what's happening there. Now, the only other issue with these traffic cameras is that sometimes at night they don't look the best. So what you're looking at currently is Interstate 65 at 865. This is right, if you know this area very well, I drive this almost every day. This is between the Whitestown exit and 71st Street. Let me take you up 65, like we're going to Whitestown. This is going to be right at the Whitestown exit. I'm going to keep taking you up the interstate here. We're going to keep going up. This is going up past. We'll wait till that pops up. And again, I apologize for it dropping to black, but it does that when I'm changing these manually on the fly. Normally we don't do that, but with this severe weather situation, I just like to keep an eye, and you guys can kind of watch along with this. So definitely see some rain on the lens here. But we're looking at more lightning coming in. This is right at State Road 267. And I believe we are looking north. It doesn't say directly on my screen, but I'm pretty sure that is a north-facing camera. Let me just confirm it is a north-facing camera. Let's take you one more exit up, or I should say one more camera up, Interstate 65. If you're just joining us, I'm tracking 2 severe thunderstorm warnings at the moment. You're watching us here on WTHR Plus. I'm meteorologist Robb Ellis here in the WTHR studios, tracking severe thunderstorms. And we're using some of the traffic cameras to look into a couple of these severe thunderstorms. One that's moving through Boone County right now, one that is moving through Marion and Hamilton County at the moment. Both of those producing some gusty winds. The camera that you're looking at right now is starting to show this storm take impact. And again, I'll show you on radar here in just a moment what we're looking at. But you can see, certainly, looks like we're at least seeing a backup, possibly even just cars that the conditions are just too treacherous to keep moving forward. So a lot of times what we'll see in these cameras is first the flashers come on, and then people decide, hey, I probably should take a little bit of a break here. I can't see where I'm going. It's too dangerous. I'm going to pull off the road onto the side or take the next exit. You're looking at Interstate 65 just south of a couple of the Lebanon exits there. If you know those are exit 138, 139, and 140. Again, I travel this area very frequently through the day, so I know this area very well, and just 3 lanes of traffic. Traffic can move pretty briskly through here. These folks are moving much, much slower than you would anticipate. And by the way, look at how many cars are moving towards the camera. Definitely looks like there's quite a bit of a slowdown, and there's a bit of a shake to the camera because of the gusty winds that are approaching this area. Let me go back to the radar, show you where we were looking at this severe thunderstorm. This is the Lebanon area we're looking at right here. In fact, I think I might have been about right here. So that part of the storm may have passed over that camera that I was looking at. We are starting to also get a little bit of redevelopment to the south of this, all because of this outflow boundary. And right when I came on the air, I said, watch these outflow boundaries, because this is going to be where we'll see redevelopment of some of the storms, and it's exactly what we're seeing at the moment. More storms developing there, a couple here back where this cooler air has pushed through. It's helping to lift the air a bit, and then several more of these storms developing. I can now hear thunder here at the studio, but it's not raining just yet. Let me put this into motion, and then we're just going to zoom in quite a bit. Let me actually loop this the last 15 minutes or so. Oh, and thank you for putting that back on. That camera that you're looking at, by the way, is right up near Lebanon. Before I zoom in, I actually want to go down the interstate just a bit, because I think the storm has passed this location. So let me change that camera real quick, get it a little closer to Indy. We'll maybe bring it something maybe on the northwest side here. One of the cameras that we often like to use. This one's got a little bit of a better view. This is going to be 86th Street at 465. Nice clear camera look to it. You can see the rain has not arrived there, but it will fairly soon. In fact, I think once we do see that, we will likely see that happen pretty quickly once the rain moves through. You'll see that burst of wind come through. If we're able to go back to the radar real quick, and Colin, I thank you so much for punching around on those things. If you're able to double box it if you'd like. But what I really want to do is zoom in on the radar just a little bit, because a lot of this is really just starting to overtake Indy as far as some heavy rain. Zionsville, very heavy rain, probably even a little bit of small hail taking shape. And then we're seeing more of this fill in. I think we're going to continue to see that. And the reason why is because these outflow boundaries are continuing to push right across the city. The first thing you probably noticed is the temperature drop quite a bit. Probably dropped a good 10 degrees or so once this moves through. And by the way, once this passes the airport, we'll probably see that temperature drop very quickly. It was 92 degrees today. A lot of that hot and humid air mass was still in place. Temperatures have dropped a bit since we've lost the heating of the day. But this will certainly help to cool things down. And it's that cool pool of air that almost acts like a little miniature cold front and helps to lift up a few of these thunderstorms. The other severe thunderstorm that we're tracking right now is moving on the northeast side of Indy. We've been tracking this one as it moved through the Castleton area. It's moved through Lawrence now, McCordsville. We're looking at Mount Comfort. Now this is approaching Greenfield, New Powell. You're probably going to get in on this thunderstorm. The east side of Indy, Broad Ripple, likely has a good bit of lightning happening right now. The heaviest rain may be around, and there's another little kind of spike of some heavier rain that's happening right now. Right along Interstate 70, or approaching Interstate 70, maybe right at Mass Ave. So this would be, Bottle Works would be located right about there. This is Mass Ave. This is past Interstate 70. This is going to be right at the, let me see if I can get some of the exits to pop up in here, because I may go back and swap some of the cameras out. I can hear the wind picking up just a little bit. So you're looking at 70 and Keystone right there, and that last frame shows some of that very, very heavy rain that's coming down. If you're really anywhere on the east side of the city, I think you've at least got some very heavy rain that's falling. And honestly, I think most of the city is going to get on this. Look at Brownsburg. That rain is coming down pretty heavily, maybe even some small hail that's developing here. Gusty winds likely a concern. I'll switch back over to the winds so we can see the velocities here, because we haven't checked that in a while. And I do like to go back to it every now and then. And we'll go back. Sometimes my hand track, I may have to go off the to the side to do this. Let's see if it'll let me though. So there's the severe thunderstorm warning. I'll remove that from the screen. What I'm looking for are bright colors here, so really bright greens that are going to show up. Not seeing it as strongly as perhaps what we were seeing a little bit earlier, but this storm too may be getting into a situation where it's not approaching the radar directly, so we're not getting the best look at it. I'm going to leave that radar up. I'm going to swap over to a couple of different cameras. I'm also going to check and see if the National Weather Service has any new information as this is now approaching the downtown area. Bear with me just one moment. And Colin, feel free to pop up either of those cameras if you see that either one of them looks good. I'm going to switch over to one of the downtown cameras just because this is going to be moving right over, especially the Near East side. Looks like we may actually have, let me see which camera is up at the moment. Yeah, it looks like we've got a stalled tractor trailer here. This is right at Interstate 70 at Sherman. Unsure if this is related to the weather, but certainly going to cause some problems. Not what you'd want to see if you're driving on already slick roadways and gusty winds and heavy rain. And unfortunately, there's a tractor trailer with his hood open right in looks like the number 3 lane on Interstate 70. And I want to get a direction here. We are looking westbound, so that's going to be eastbound Interstate 70 as the severe thunderstorm moves through Indianapolis. Does not include the downtown area in the severe thunderstorm warning, though, at the moment. Because of that, I'm curious to know is whether the Weather Service is going to put up another severe thunderstorm warning. I'm gonna swap something out real quick. Hey, Colin, do me a favor and just leave that camera up for me, because the radar screen may go blank for a moment. So just bear with me if you could leave that up. What I'm gonna do, I want to be able to show some wind. So if you're watching at home, bear with me while I just adjust something, because I want to be able to show you some of the strong winds that are happening right now. Let's see if this will work for me. Okay. All right, so just had a report of a 62-mile-per-hour wind gust that was measured in Castleton. This was right at 10 p.m. A 56-mile-per-hour wind gust that was measured in Anderson. Now, I have a map that shows the 56-mile-per-hour wind gust. You can swap over to the radar now, and it'll show that. But the Castleton one has not registered just yet. Here's the 56-mile-per-hour gust, and this is because of this storm that rolled through. Carmel reported a 41-mile-per-hour wind gust from this particular reporting site. That's not to say there wasn't a stronger gust that happened somewhere nearby or elsewhere in Hamilton County. In fact, we had a 59-mile-per-hour wind gust very close to Westfield, just to the north of Westfield from that. Probably going to see more of these happen, and I'm curious to see what the National Weather Service officially gets at the airport once that line of storms moves through. Having pulled that up very quickly while I have that same graphic up, I want you to look at the temperatures, where we still have the only 81-degree reading is at the airport. There's an 80 at Eagle Creek. This is going to drop once that sensor takes the next reading because the rain has already moved through there, or is moving through there right now. This is where there's still a little bit of leftover energy. And the reason I'm pointing that out is because this is what these storms are going to feed off of. This isn't a situation where the storms have to be triggered during the afternoon heating of the day. We've already triggered the storms. The storms have been triggered by the popping during the afternoon much farther to the north and west. These storms have already developed. And the heat and humidity that's still in place is going to, at the very least, maintain these. This one severe thunderstorm, I'm curious as to whether or not they're going to extend that severe thunderstorm to include the rest of Indy. They don't have it in place just now, but if you look at the radar trends, this part of the cell that has developed maybe from Brownsburg down to maybe the southern end of Eagle Creek Reservoir over to Avon, this is probably going to sweep across much of the city, probably going to end up getting, at very least, some gusty winds. Will they be of severe criteria? They're also close enough to the radar that I think the National Weather Service has a pretty good look at it. And the reason I'm pointing that out is because if they haven't issued the warning just yet, it may mean that they're not seeing anything from those readings that says to keep that severe thunderstorm warning in place. They were saying that the threat in northeastern Marion and western Hancock is continuing to decrease, so that storm is pretty much collapsing. That one that's moving through Lawrence right now, that's moving through the east side, that's approaching Greenfield. And again, I apologize for stepping off screen, but that's the best way to kind of get some extra information. So this one's likely collapsing. This one's at the very least holding together, and this one's really right over the city at this point. This is the one that I think is going to bring heavy rain here at the studio. Most of you, if you're in Speedway, Indy, Speedway is really getting some heavy rain right now. This is almost right on top of the radar, so we're getting the best view of this at the moment. and probably going to pick up some small hail with this too. It's so close to the radar that I can't imagine we're not getting a good view of what's happening. That's what that little round artifact is you see in the radar. That's where the radar beam is actually, the radar dish is actually located. Let me take that severe thunderstorm warning off. We'll see if the National Weather Service continues with the severe thunderstorm warning. They don't even have a special weather statement out just yet. We will probably see a box pop up here very shortly. At the very least, it's going to be a special weather statement, but they may extend the severe thunderstorm warning to include the rest of downtown, probably down to Southport, down to Greenwood, maybe even to Plainfield, as it looks like we're starting to see a little bit of redevelopment farther to the south of this. If you're on the eastern side of the city, you're going to continue to see heavy rain, but I think the severe threat is decreasing. It's not done just yet because you still have the severe thunderstorm warning that's going to be in place until 10:30. So this is going to expire in exactly 2 minutes, maybe just shy of 2 minutes or so. This warning is going to go until 11 p.m. Now we're going to have to do a delicate dance here because I want to stay on the air while this is moving through the metro area, while it's moving right through downtown and impacting a significant portion of the city, the population. But we're also about to approach our 11 o'clock newscast. And in order to do that, our director and producer have to swap things in and out so we're ready to go for our on-air broadcast that you'll also be able to watch right here on WTHR+. In order to do that, we got to kind of maybe pause things here streaming-wise. We'll put the radar back up maybe in about another 10 minutes or so. The just live stream of radar, and I'll prepare for the 11 o'clock newscast. But if you're really anywhere in Indy at this point, I can kind of hear the building creak a little bit, the roof when the winds start to pick up, and I'm starting to hear that. We're also seeing lots of frequent lightning flashes there from 86th Street. Ginny's providing me with another update here. Power outages from Duke Energy now up to 7,000 at this point. That's in Hamilton County. AES says 4,400. Most of these are on the northeast side, and that's what we would expect to see. The northeast side is what was most impacted by this storm to move through. Now, this number, I guarantee you, will go up because this is moving through one of the most populated areas in Indiana, and it's going to be producing gusty winds and frequent lightning strikes. That's going to only add to power outages. There's only 2 severe thunderstorm warnings in place right now. This one is about to fall off the board. In fact, it should fall off the board here momentarily. Let me actually switch this back to now. That way we can see when this warning will fall off. This one goes until 10:30, but it has not fallen off the board just yet. It should do so momentarily. There it goes. That one went away. We still have this severe thunderstorm warning that's going to be in place until 11 p.m. Having said that, most of that severe thunderstorm is starting to escape that box. So this box right here is the one I'm talking about. This is where the National Weather Service has issued the severe thunderstorm warning because of gusty winds. The new radar update just came in. That new scan puts the heaviest of the rain really anywhere from Broad Ripple down to Speedway over to Plainfield. It's almost right over top of the airport. Downtown, you've just got maybe another 2 minutes or so before it unleashes with some very heavy rain. You've seen the lightning. You've heard the thunder as this is approaching. It's not going to take much more. In fact, I'd have our tower cam ready to go, Colin, because I think this is going to be, it's going to go from beautiful view of the skyline to probably in an instant, we're going to lose that video. I may be able to pull that up myself, Colin. Don't worry about coding it because I think I have it right here. Yeah, so this is the live camera. I'm going to leave it on this for just a moment. Yes, I got your note about power outages map. We'll go to that here in just a moment. I'm going to leave it on this for just a moment because if you're anywhere in Indy, you have very heavy rain on the north side of the city. We're sitting at 10th Street. I'd say within the next 2 minutes, you're going to see this picture go from nice and relatively calm conditions. The camera's likely going to start to pick up a little bit of shaking, and we're going to very quickly lose our visibility here as heavy rain moves across the downtown area. Already starting to see some of the lightning that's going to continue. Severe thunderstorm is not in play at the moment for the downtown area, and I just want to sneak away here to check from the National Weather Service to see if they've extended that severe thunderstorm warning. They have not at the moment. They also had a couple of reports, the earlier reports, and I want to repeat these, 62 mile per hour wind gust at Castleton and a 56 mile per hour wind gust in Madison County. So that's Chesterfield. So from the Anderson reporting site, I believe that's where that's from. So these storms have been packing a punch, and as you take a live look from our tower camera, you can see that we are starting to see the visibility drop just a bit. I'm going to leave that up for just a moment. As you continue to see lightning going down, I think everyone in Indy is going to see some very heavy rain from this. Unfortunately, if you're looking for rain, if you're a gardener like myself and you go, oh, this will be great, a lot of this rain is going to run off because it's happening so quickly, and very quickly we're starting to lose our visibility as the rain continues to obscure the skyline from off in the distance. We're sitting here at 10th Street, so if that gives you any good way to kind of count the streets, we are exactly 10 blocks or 1 mile north of the center of the city, of the circle itself, where you can just barely see the monument there. And I'm now continuing to hear lightning happening here at the station. We'll come back to this in just a moment. Let me go back to the radar very quickly because I know that's what you want to see. I'm going to turn off this camera right here. Colin, if you have that power outages map very quickly, if you want to pop that up at some point, I'll speak to that. Here's what we're looking at, some of the power outages. Notice, by the way, if you're trying to orient yourself, we are on the north side, so this is Carmel up to Westfield. There are a significant number of power outages. We're looking at 7193, and I believe this is the Duke Energy site. Yes, it is. It's 7193. That's the number of power outage customers. Most of these are, you can almost make out a path here of where the storm came through. Right through Carmel, eventually down right over the White River and continuing to Castleton. Most of these outages are going to be on the northeast side of the city. We're likely going to see even more as the storms continue to move through. Let's go back to the radar because this is essentially over the entire city at the moment. And the gusty winds, thankfully, are not, the National Weather Service is not continuing the severe thunderstorm warning at this time. They are not bringing that severe thunderstorm warning through the rest of Indianapolis. It means that as this has approached the radar and we get a much better view of it, especially this segment of the storm, they are thinking that those strong winds at least have not held their severity, their strength of severe thunderstorm. I'm going to give this another 5 minutes, and this is for Chris and for Colin because I know you guys are listening to me. I'm going to give this another 5 minutes and just watch this as it moves through the city because I know folks are hearing the thunder and lightning. They're tuning in. They're wanting to know what's going on with these severe thunderstorms. Most of this is moving to the south and east. I'll set the radar in motion so you can see that motion. It's not moving terribly quickly. I'm hoping they move quickly enough that we don't have to worry about flooding because this is a lot of rain that's happening, but they're going to continue pushing south and east, will likely impact the entire city. One severe thunderstorm warning remains. That one's going to be in place until 11 p.m. and I'll put that right over there so you can see it. That's going to include Marion County, but this also is going to include parts of Boone County. They're probably going to trim that back. This is also going to include I believe this may include parts of Hendricks County. Yes, it is included in that, as well as there's a little sliver there that's in parts of Hamilton County. Go to tower cam real quick to show us that if you have it. Yeah, we said that we'd likely see our view obscured, and that's exactly what's happening. Rain's coming down very heavily here at the studio. I can hear it on the roof, and likely going to completely lose the skyline as the heavy rain continues. Most of you are seeing images just like this where you're located. Some gusty winds may continue to push on through. The good news is once this moves on by this evening, I do think we'll have a relatively quiet rest of the evening, although there were some indications that we might see this move through overnight again, right, just before the sun comes up tomorrow morning. However, because this is moving through at this hour, that may sap the energy from what we were expecting to arrive overnight. If we use up the energy now, we won't have it for later for the storm complex we were expecting to arrive. Sometimes with these types of complexes of thunderstorms, it's very difficult to determine how things will evolve during the evening hours if these clusters will hold together. Lightning is continuing to be ongoing here. So just to kind of reiterate, this severe thunderstorm warning has dropped, although rain is still happening all throughout the east side. If you're on the south side right now of Indy, and just know that I've got the sensitivity turned up quite a bit on the radar. That's why it's all this blue and this kind of light green. The reason I'm doing that is so that I can see these little features right here, these outflow boundaries. And what you're also getting, and probably why we're seeing the strongest of the storm on this side, is because you're actually getting this outflow boundary, this little green line, and this outflow boundary. Just think of them as little miniature fronts. They're kind of colliding there. They're coming together at a little point, and sometimes that gives a little bit of extra oomph to the storms, and it's why we're really seeing this little kind of appendage continue to push to the south. In fact, I think we're probably going to see that continue to develop maybe even down into as far south as Martinsville. A lot of this atmosphere hasn't been used up. It's still hot, it's still humid. We've lost the heating of the day, and by the way, I can hear the building creaking a little bit as the winds pick up, as the heaviest of the rain is moving through. And I just want to zoom in real quick to see what else we're looking at on radar here. Let me just remove that on the screen. I like to keep the screen nice and tidy. We are sitting right there, Meridian Street, right at 65. You can see the rain has now happened to move past, getting into the heaviest rain. Doesn't look like there's as strong of a hail signature as what we were seeing a little bit earlier. I am curious if the National Weather Service sees any hail, because this is probably going right over the airport. And Jenny, if you're listening to me, if you get any reports from the airport, feel free to pass them along, but I'm probably going to wrap this up here in the next 5 minutes. Keep it right here, by the way. I know I say I'm going to wrap up in about 5 minutes, but I don't want you to go anywhere, because what we have to do is I have to hand this off to the stream. We're going to stream radar while we reset for our 11 o'clock newscast. Most of you in Indy, this will have passed at that point. And by the way, National Weather Service did just issue a new, what they call special weather statement. So let me put that on the screen. Just wanted to put that on there for you just so you can see it. It's this box right here. Basically, it means this is a thunderstorm that is below severe criteria. It is not producing winds of 58 miles per hour or stronger. It is not producing hail of 1 inch in diameter or stronger, but it may be producing some winds of as much as, say, 40 to 50 miles per hour, and that's going to be until 11:15. So if you're anywhere in that box, essentially if you're anywhere in Indy, all the way to the south side, all the way as far south as Franklin, just know that you're going to have this thunderstorm move through. It is not a severe thunderstorm, but it is a very strong thunderstorm, and one that may be producing some gusty winds. It's also producing some pretty heavy rain. Again, I can hear the rain coming down pretty heavily here. Did have a couple of gusts of wind earlier in the day. This one's actually from around the 4 o'clock hour, I believe, when that one moved through the eastern side, through Greenfield, where some really heavy rain and gusty winds came through. That continued to push to the south. These areas didn't use up as much of the energy. These areas were much cooler. In fact, it cooled down quite a bit. Temperatures dropped into the 70s. It's why I think this part of the storm collapsed. And I mentioned that about maybe 30 minutes or so ago when that storm rolled out of Hamilton County. Once it got to the east side of Marion County and into maybe Hancock County here, we did see things kind of collapse a bit. There was not much more energy to work with. That's not going to be the case here on the west side. I think the strong storm that's pushing past Plainfield, let me see if I can get my Zoom to cooperate with me. I wanted to do that. Thank you. This one is going to likely keep going. We'll likely see this move through Mooresville, farther to the south, Monrovia, especially because that's where this outflow boundary and this outflow boundary are merging together, and they're going to add a little bit of extra lift to the atmosphere. Maybe some small hail that's going down just west of the airport at the moment. We'll continue to watch that. Probably some really heavy rain. Are we able to, I'm actually going to pull it up from here, Colin, so let me pull this up real quick, see if I can get our tower cam shot just yet again, because we're probably not going to be able to see. Oh, you can still see the skyline, but definitely a rainy, steamy night turning into a stormy night as the storms roll through downtown Indianapolis. Again, I want you to keep it tuned right here. If you are watching us on WTHR Plus, Colin, are we able to switch back over to one of the traffic cameras as well, the one with the semi-tractor trailer? See if we're able to pull that one up as well. I want you to stay right here. We have to switch out of WTHR Plus. We're going to pull up the radar. If our streaming producer can do that for me right after I wrap up here, because we're going to get ready for our 11 o'clock newscast. We're going to bring you all the day's latest news as well as an update on what's happening. In the meantime, you can see the traffic on Interstate 70. We are looking at the eastbound lanes impacted by this stalled tractor trailer. It is not an accident. It had its hood up a little bit earlier when we were looking at this, but boy, it's got some terrible weather to contend with as traffic is likely going to be slow going anyway. In fact, you can see traffic on the other side moving westbound has their emergency flashers on just because of all of the heavy rain. Colin, last time, we'll go back to the radar very quickly and I'll wrap this up. If you are anywhere in Indy, heavy rain moving through, this is no longer severe, although one severe thunderstorm warning is still left in place, and that will go technically until 11 o'clock, but for the most part, the severe thunderstorm has escaped that. In fact, I believe they've canceled that severe thunderstorm warning that was here into parts of Boone County. Most of you in Indy, heavy rain coming through. There may be some small hail. This is likely wrapped up. This is pretty much done if you're in Whitestown, Brownsburg, Lebanon, I think all the way up to Carmel, Fishers. You have rain still coming down, but that'll probably wrap up. And then if you're looking for a forecast for the rest of the weekend, heading into next week, and the big pattern change that's happening, make sure you keep it tuned right here. I'm also going to talk about Hurricane Erin, which became a Category 5 hurricane today. Thankfully, no threat to U.S. at this time, except maybe some swells along the Atlantic coast. Talk a lot more about that. We're going to, again, leave you with the streaming radar. Keep it tuned right here. We'll have a full live newscast at 11 o'clock.